Hey, so since the Enlisted to Entrepreneur group wanted to know more about buying businesses acquisitions when I made the post last week, I decided to record this video and describe everything that I've been up to for the last few months with regards to mergers and acquisitions, and hopefully give a brief overview of the whole opportunity that is taking place right now, and especially in North America. So on a macro level, the situation is that there's trillions of dollars that are about to change hands in terms of generation of boomers retiring, and they run millions of small businesses in Canada and the US, and oftentimes there's nobody to take them over. And of course there's other businesses, or like relatively younger businesses, that are also looking to exit as they find some success. So until recently, this was only really taught at like Harvard MBA level schools, and then only a few years ago people started talking about it kind of like in the mainstream circles amongst common people like us. But it is very realistic for someone to go ahead and acquire a business, as it turns out. And essentially my journey was that I have started several businesses. A lot of them kind of failed, but a couple of them were profitable. So there was a digital marketing, performance marketing agency focused on affiliate marketing, and also a couple of e-commerce brands that I was able to make work. But of course there were a lot more projects that didn't really work out, and I have picked up some books. There's really two books that I recommend. So this is the classic called the HBR Guide of Buying a Small Business, and it's been published by Harvard to kind of educate people outside of the MBA about all of the steps that go from deciding that you are going to pursue this all the way to searching, negotiating, closing, and then all the way to operating. And another book, it's called Buy Then Build by Warwick Dybul. So essentially that is less of a user manual and more of like a book about his journey, and then the journey of people that the author helped. And now it provides most of the same steps, except with a slightly less dry language that you would expect from Harvard. So it's a fun read. And first time I picked it up, I think it was 2021, and I haven't really done anything about it. And then I reread it last year in 2023. Reason why I reread it is because I attended a bunch of business events, and a lot of people, including myself, admitted that they were kind of struggling and making things work in the online space. New launches weren't as successful, etc. But I heard from at least 3 people that they either have been part of a transaction, or they had someone in their circle that either bought or sold a business, and it was a win-win on both sides. So that made me think, like, if I heard it from 3 or 4 people in my network at the same time, then there must be something to it. So I started researching this again and reread the book that I already read 2 years prior, and really took it seriously. Well, in fact, I actually have bought a business in 2020 during the pandemic, and it was a small acquisition that obviously it's not a complicated transaction. It was a very small deal, all cash, so no external financing, no capital needed to be raised. It was basically like a failing Amazon FBA brand that had some initial traction but then fell in hard times, and I thought that I could pick it up for pennies on the dollar, and then using my knowledge turn it around. That didn't quite happen yet, but I have actually gone through the whole process from analyzing, negotiating, doing the due diligence. I had lawyers, I had accountants, and then I actually negotiated the price down to about 30% of the initial ask, again because the business wasn't doing well. Highly recommend the book called Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. I literally bought the book one day before I had the final negotiation with the sellers, and I only read the last chapter, which is kind of like the condensed version, and I applied some of those principles in addition to just plain accounting and math. Really just looking at the paperwork, there was a lot of things that I pointed out that brought the valuation down. So anyways, that was like my first foray into the M&A, and even though the end result wasn't I guess successful financially, it was still a good learning experience, fairly on the cheap. So after I read the book in 2023 in the summer, I went through an intensive kind of like workshop, just kind of get me up to speed. I do have a finance degree, which helps, but it's not required. And I started searching first through looking at different brokered listings, and because I still do have a business to run, like I have, aim size, performance, I have the HR marketing. It was a part-time endeavor, and very quickly I realized that it takes time to look for deals, to screen the deals, and then to pursue them, to actually talk to brokers. And I really only had one LOI, letter of intent, put in between like when I started and the end of 2023. It was actually an interesting deal. It was a kind of like an adventure race company, which was totally outside of my deal box, but it looked interesting. And I spent a few weeks researching it. I interviewed some people from the industry. I talked to a podcaster that had a podcast dedicated to adventure racing, and got everyone's opinion, and in the end everybody kind of advised me not to do it, so the deal fell apart. But again, it was an interesting experience. And then I thought, okay, I did review about 100 deals in 2023 and only put one LOI in. How do I speed this up? There's ways to do it with cheap or even free help. You can get overseas virtual assistants on freelancer sites to kind of do some of that initial legwork, reaching out to business owners, or screening the broker deals. And same thing, sometimes you can get students that are interested in finance acquisitions to help as well, because I get an opportunity to learn about all these different businesses, different industries, experience the whole process of analyzing, at least initially, the deals. So that's how you can speed up your search process and have more deal flow, more deals coming through your funnel. So that's the stage that I'm currently at. At the same time, I have talked to my commercial banker, so it's good to have a lender on board, because it sounds like a second set of eyes, a sounding board. If a lender isn't willing to lend against the deal, maybe it's not a good deal, or maybe you need to find other lenders that are more comfortable with risk. Again, being based in Canada, we're a little bit different than the US. The US has a lot more banks, a lot more lenders. Also, they have what's called the SBA, Small Business Administration lending program, where you can borrow up to 90% of a business valuation, up to $5 million US dollars, whereas in Canada we don't have that. So our loan to value, LTV percentages are more conservative, so the bank will never lend you probably 90% of the purchase price. And that means you have to negotiate other sources of basically cash at close. So whether it's secondary debt from other lenders, or raising equity from investors, friends and family, or it could be partially financed by the sellers themselves via what's called the seller note, seller financing, also known as VTB, vendor take back. I think that's more of a real estate term. So those types of financing make it really realistic for I guess like an ordinary person, like a military veteran, or maybe someone who's working full-time and doesn't maybe even have a lot of savings, but is keen on acquiring and operating their own business. There are ways to make it affordable without having to have a lot of cash. That's, I think, what stops a lot of people, that they think M&A is for rich people with a lot of money. I've seen a lot of examples in the groups dedicated to the M&A space, different podcasts, YouTube series, where it was literally people with no money at all who were able to take down fairly sizable deals. It doesn't even have to be small. I met a guy in January also from Toronto, an entrepreneur who acquired a skincare company, completely seller financed. The seller was retiring, and he believed in this person so much that he basically gave him the keys to the business. His children didn't want it, and he wanted to just reap the rewards over a period of time from that business. Again, that's more of a fairy tale scenario. It does happen, but it's not common. Commonly, you need to have some skin in the game, and you'll need to probably raise some capital. Again, the books that I discussed, especially the HBR guide, goes into all of those strategies and numbers, and there's other things where you can have creative ways to structure these deals in order to make it affordable for you. So that's in a nutshell of what I have been up to, what I have experienced in the last 6 to 7 months of searching, and I'm probably now spending 70% or more of my time reviewing deals that I see. For now, it's just deals that are from different brokerages. We haven't really got any off-market deals, or I haven't sourced a lot of deal flow myself by via my network or some sort of an outreach. And that's the next step. If we don't find what we want in the broker world, then we'll start reaching out to different businesses, try to see if they're interested in exiting. What else? So we've covered the whole opportunity, why it makes sense to acquire something that is working and profitable, as opposed to maybe starting a startup, which is great. That's how new ideas are born, of course, in this world, but it's a high risk, high reward type of scenario where 95-98% of startups fail, whereas with acquisitions, typically failure rate is lower. I think it's 25% or less. Fun fact, I think military veterans have an even better success rate than non-military acquirers. That was something that I learned recently, so that's good. Good on us, I guess. And then we've talked about how actually it is affordable, contrary to popular belief. It's easier than some people think in terms of the bar. Like, the bar isn't that high in terms of how much money one needs to have in order to take down and acquire a company, especially using some of those strategies of seller financing, raising capital from investors, or having even the seller to provide some cushion there. We've talked about some of the things to have more deals in the funnel, which is even getting outside help for relatively low hourly rate overseas, potentially, or some maybe students. And finally, there was a little bit of analytics that looking at the deals, I found that a lot of them are kind of pump and dump, or maybe their business isn't doing so well and they try to offload it. So there's some deals are like that, but there's a few that are genuinely good long-term business that's been around for 10, 20 plus years, and their owner is 60, 70 years old, and yes, they are looking to finally retire. So they're motivated, right? So I've seen some of those deals as well. Then do you have to be a finance genius? Do you have to have a finance degree like I to analyze? I don't believe so. I mean, it's kind of hard because I do have a degree, so I don't know what I would do if I wasn't able to read a balance sheet or income statement. But it's the good news is a lot of these small businesses, it's very simplistic. A lot of their records, you'll get the QuickBooks export via CSV at best, so it's not like it's a huge public company financial report of 50 pages that you have to read as a Wall Street analyst. No, this is very, very rudimentary financial information. So if you can understand like revenue, cost of goods sold, overhead expenses, variable expenses, and then like all the way down to how much money is left before taxes and then after taxes net profit, yeah, you should be pretty good to go. You can probably get an accounting student to look it over second or third year to get, if you're completely clueless about that. What else? Some success stories in the past, like from our own community, like in Canada, Arrowhead Coffee, which is a soft veteran-owned brand that was started by a special operator and then acquired by a retired special operator. And I think they're doing well. It's like, Canadian Black Rifle Coffee, for lack of better word. Pardon me if that's not on brand, but that's how I see it. And it was, I think, a fairly successful transaction that I personally know that happened a few years ago. There are people in our group and our network that have done it all the way to the end, and they probably can also be a resource if necessary, at least for our enlisted to entrepreneur group. Just to sum this up, I am still in the middle of my search, 6 to 7 months, mostly part-time, so not even full-time. I have had some close calls, some offers that I put in that didn't work out, or where I pulled out. Not too many, so I will give an update on this journey if and when we get to the close. But for now, yeah, that's what I'm doing. So if you have any questions, or if you need to bounce some ideas off, or maybe have deals that you want to bring to the table, feel free to hit me up and comment below. If you have any questions on this video, or if you want to have the next video talk about something else, again, let me know. So good luck. Hopefully this was valuable.